Welcome back to our conversation with United States Secretary of Labor, Marty Walsh, of course, the former Boston mayor. And Mr. Secretary, I want to talk to you in some detail about the president's infrastructure bill, the American Jobs Plan, and what it might mean for us here in Massachusetts. But before we go any further, I do have to ask you about your claim, supported by former Police Commissioner Billy Evans, that you didn't know about Dennis White's domestic violence issues before naming him commissioner and never would have appointed him if you did. And the conflict of that claim with claims made publicly by White and former Commissioner Willie Gross that you did know beforehand. I'm a little baffled. Why would White and Gross lie about that?
That's a question you have to ask them on what their statements are and what they mean by that. But I can tell you this: I had no knowledge of Dennis White's past in the police department. I had no understanding of it. If I had, obviously decisions would have been different, and the acting mayor wouldn't be going through the situation now, and Boston wouldn't be. It's disappointing, and I wish I had known. Billy Evans has said it. I've talked to Billy a couple times, and it's really disappointing.
I mean, it's kind of a he said, or they said situation. What, if anything, do you want to tell your friends and others here in Boston who are wondering, can they believe you?
Listen, I always speak the truth. People know that. People who know me know that. And it's if I had known that situation, we would not be having this conversation right now.
All right, let's talk a little bit about the American Jobs Plan. What are the, to your mind, what are the headline benefits for a state like Massachusetts in the plan? And the plan is, evolving. It's under negotiation right now. Which of these headline benefits might be at risk of not making the cut?
Well, first and foremost, the plan, the headline benefits of the plan is jobs, infrastructure, it's roads and bridges. It's the broadband network. We're doing that in the city of Boston right now. We're able to, in my time as mayor, create a network across the city of Boston for fiber optic cable. It's clean drinking water, making sure that we replace lead pipes in this country. It's additional building new homes, as we know we need in Massachusetts. It's investment in schools. It's investment in the cares economy. We saw in Massachusetts during the pandemic, lots of loss of life and poor wages being paid for people working in nursing homes, taking care of our elderly. It's investment in the cares economy for our children and childcare. There's lots of great investments in this plan. This plan was rolled out by the president when I was the Secretary of Labor right in my early days. And I thought to myself, if I was the mayor of Boston when this plan got rolled out, I'd be excited about it. I know that the city of Boston is benefiting right now in the sense of money investments from the American Rescue Plan, and that will only continue to go forward with the American Jobs Plan. And the American Jobs Plan, quite honestly, is a plan, forward-looking plan. It's a plan about making investments so we, as a country, we can remain competitive and remain number one in the world in our economy. And that's what the president, when he talks about building back better, that's what he means by that, building back better. As far as the negotiation, there's a negotiation right now on what that plan will look like, how we pay for that plan. The president has been talking, and I've been talking to senators and Congress folks from both sides of the aisle. We're having these dialogues very intently. Gina Raimondo, Secretary of Commerce from Rhode Island, has been having these conversations. Secretary Buttigieg and other secretaries have been involved in negotiation and conversations as far as moving this plan forward.
Do you have a legitimate negotiating partner in the Republicans right now?
Yeah, there's many, when I talk to the senators, many different Republican senators and Congress folks, they like a lot of aspects of this plan. Some areas of this country, when the pandemic hit, there was no clear internet service, no broadband, and people want to bring that to their communities. All across this country, people are still drinking water that's running through lead pipes. That's changing the entire infrastructure for lead pipes, eliminating throughout the entire country. It's also roads and bridges. You think in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, there's a need for major investment in bridges and roads, and in the city of Boston as well. We've had conversations about bridges ourselves in the city of Boston. I had to close 2 down. So having infrastructure investments throughout this country like that are going to be really important for the future of cities and towns and the infrastructure of America.